Hello everyone, this is Scalzo with Parkside Athletics. I'm joined today by Parkside's very own Director of Athletics, Mr. Gavin.
Hi Grace.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to talk to you today.
Me as well. Okay, starting off right away, it's 2021 finally. Our teams are back to competition here shortly. As head AD, can you tell me how the process of returning to competition has gone for the athletics department?
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's been long. I think certainly has seemed like a really, really long time since we've been in competition, and it has been. You know, you go back all the way to early to mid-March of 2020, and we're used to ramping up spring sports. Anytime the winter and spring is overlapping, it's a busy time for the athletics department, and for everything to just kind of come to a halt, obviously for us and for everybody across the country was tough, and then it's just been long. I think certainly coming back this year, it was a great jolt this fall for our teams to get back to some semblance of practice and being together. I think that was the thing that we tried to, as safely as we could, figure out a way to get our athletes back together. Because beyond COVID, we just felt like they needed it for their mental and physical health the best we could. So really, really give kudos to our student athletes and our coaches for their patience, for their abiding by protocols, for their taking things seriously. And beyond that, certainly our athletic training staff has done an absolutely incredible job. Worked tirelessly, things that they never thought they would be doing, whether it was contact tracing or helping administer tests, just countless meetings, especially Katie Bowers, the Director of Sports Med. Her leadership through this has been really tremendous. So all that to be said, when 2021 came around, we were excited to get back to competition, and it's fun to be back, thinking about preparing for games and thinking about wins and losses and cheering on our teams and our student athletes. Still, obviously, thinking a lot about COVID protocols and health and safety and navigating. It's been a situation where we've all had to pivot and navigate and be ready to kind of adapt to the best we can. And that's still true to this day. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to go seamlessly this spring, but we're going to do our best to make it as good of an experience as possible for our student athletes and be back competing, which is what obviously they want to be doing, right? So it's exciting.
Yes, very exciting, and it has definitely been a team effort, so thank you to everyone that's helped out. With the Rangers back in action, what's the excitement level you've witnessed from our coaches, student athletes themselves, and our fans? What has it been like?
Yeah, well, our fans are mad because right now we're not doing spectators, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody's really, really excited, certainly. And I think, practice was great, and being back together this fall was great for our student athletes. But nothing replaces competition. I just think it's what we do in athletics. It's what our student athletes want to do, is to compete. And you can do that in practice, obviously, but it gets old pretty fast. So I think they were really excited to be back in competition, and certainly same for our coaches. I mean, their competitiveness is as much as anybody, and it's been hard on them. They've had to really sacrifice and be there for our student athletes in different ways than normal. Not different, but more. It's been more important to play that mentorship role and to make sure our student athletes were doing okay. So. We'll still be doing that, but certainly to be back coaching and doing what they love to be doing, we're excited for them as well.
Yes, nothing like competition. If you're watching right now and you've been following along through Parkside's social media, you know there have been some updates with RangerVision 2020. So, Mr. Gavin, can you tell us about the Turf Center, D. Simone Gymnasium, and all of RangerVision 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. I could go on for hours, but I won't. But yeah, RangerVision 2020 it's been exciting. It's been challenging. It's had its ups and downs throughout the course of the past year or so. As most people know, we officially launched it on March 5th. So the timing to announce the biggest fundraising campaign in Parkside Athletics history was interesting. Obviously, we've been really sensitive to those that have been impacted economically by COVID-19 and unemployment and different businesses that have been challenged through this. So we wanted to be really sensitive to that, but we also didn't want to stop momentum. I think the word momentum was constantly on my mind throughout the past year. Is we had really good momentum, and the idea of publicly announcing these really transformational projects was only going to get that momentum going even more. So how do we continue that momentum while maybe adjusting our strategies a little bit in terms of fundraising. So we've done that. We've had incredible support from some corporate partners and donors that have really helped us to keep things going. And specifically, if you look at D. Simone Gym, Haribo was really the catalyst for that project. We announced that in the fall of 2019. But Educators Credit Union stepping up in the midst of COVID to initially sign our partnership with them to create the Educators Credit Union Suite in D. Simone, but then to take it a step further and to ensure that we had the money in hand up front to keep that project going was just tremendous support, and we really love working with them. They've had presence on our campus for decades, but this is a whole nother level of support and partnership that we're excited about with Educators Credit Union. And then many others. So that project, the D. Simone Gym project, complete bleacher reconstruction, creation of 2 really first-class VIP areas on the west side of the gym there, is slated to happen this coming summer, so summer of 2021. A couple of big hurdles happened in December. We got approval through the Board of Regents, and then we got approval at the State Building Commission. So now it's just a matter of going through the facility process with our architect, Partners in Design, local architect who's a great partner of ours, and with the state to ensure that project's completed the best of our abilities. So still raising money. We need to have a little bit more funds to be able to really take that project to the next level with video boards and some other finishes in there. But really happy that project will get done this summer. And it'll be a game changer, to go from, I put it bluntly throughout all of this, to take a high school atmosphere and turn it into a college atmosphere is what we've been trying to do. And I think we'll be excited for that next fall. The Turf Center, we don't call it the pool anymore. We made that shift about 6-7 weeks ago, late in 2020. No longer is it the Turf Center, and that really became official when they filled in the old pool and laid down the floor. So just finishing that project off with the state, with the turf, and then still generating dollars to have the funds that we need for padding, netting, batting cages, some of those things that not only make the space safe for our student athletes, but also make it flexible and usable. So it's going to be, it's a really cool, unique project. I've had a lot of people across the country ask me about it because there's people that are experiencing what we did with a pool that's 40, 50 years old and trying to determine, whether to reimagine what that space will look like. So it's really cool to see it transform, and for our baseball and our softball players, our men's and women's soccer programs, it'll be a game changer. Obviously, practicing February, March, April, even a lot of times in our spring, has not been something we've been able to do real effectively through COVID, or through everything's COVID on my mind, through our winters in Wisconsin. So to have a space indoors for them to really work and develop and get ready for the season is a game changer. And recruiting, you want to be able to look at a 17, 18-year-old baseball or softball player or a junior college transfer or otherwise and say, you can come here and get better. And they know what the weather is. You can't hide the weather. We're in Wisconsin. But to be able to show them the Turf Center and they can envision, okay, this is where I can work on my game. This is where I can work on my skills to make sure that I get better as a college athlete. And that's what all college athletes want. So recruiting, as well as our student athlete experience, it'll be an absolute game changer. And then finally, the Mark Olson Indoor Golf Center is really taking shape as well. Renovated a dance studio, preserved half of that space to continue to be able to function as a really nice dance studio, host classes, yoga, Zumba activity classes, otherwise. But also on the other side, be able to create I think one of the best Division II golf facilities in the country when it's all said and done. And to have the simulators, the turf, putting green space for our student athletes first and foremost, and then our community members that'll be able to utilize this space. It'll be huge. And some great partners and donors and sponsors of that space to help us keep the momentum going again. And not to sound like a broken record, but Coach O just told me, Coach Olson, who we're naming the space after, to be able to make this kind of progress through 2020, through COVID, is really great, and it's not something we take for granted. So recently, Gateway Mortgage, a local business who's been giving back to this community for years and years and years, decades, stepped up and created the Gateway Mortgage 25K for 25K challenge. And that's going to help us get to the finish line with that space and get our guys in here soon to utilize it. So they're excited, I know. And so are we. And I might use it a little bit too.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we're so thankful for everything that RangerVision 2020 is about to unfold for this university from every point you touched on. So it's really exciting stuff. With the new year comes resolutions, and I have heard that your resolution is to make green choices. Can you tell us what it means to make green choices?
I can, yeah. And it's evolved a little bit for me. I'm somebody who, and I haven't always been this way, I think it's through leadership and through personal growth and professional growth, self-reflection has just become really, really important to me. And I just feel like if I can't take that time to reflect and think through, what's going well, what's going poorly, what do I need to change about my life or change about the way we're doing things, we're not going to get better and we're not going to keep making progress. So obviously through COVID, through the challenging events in our community, it was a tough summer, I think, and a tough fall for a lot of us. And add the election cycle to all that, it's been heavy, I think, on all of our minds and our hearts. And I just kept coming back to this word choose. And, control what you can control and that cliche, but what do I get to choose every single day to make sure I don't get caught too far up in the news or negativity or people complaining or worried or the uncertainty that COVID brought to our student athletes and our coaches and our staff. So I just kept going back to this word choose. And what can I choose that can be positive in my life, but also be positive, personally for my family and then professionally for our staff here at Parkside? What can I choose? So it always starts with you as an individual, in my opinion. So, and then that's kind of evolved for me over the last few months. And Coach Moss, our head cross country and track coach, talks about make green choices. And he talks about that in recruiting. And Coach Moss is an incredible recruiter. He's been here 2 years and he's signed over 50 new Rangers, including 28 in the calendar year 2020, which is a huge undertaking, through all the adversity that we face on the recruiting trail. And so he talks about make green choices from a standpoint of our school colors, of course. And then my kids, so you babysit our little ones sometimes, and we've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old and a soon-to-be 1-year-old. And the 4-year-old and 3-year-old are, learning right and wrong and going to school and talking about, what's a good choice, what's a bad choice. So they actually learn at school what's a green choice and what's a red choice.
Oh, wow.
And a green choice is a positive choice. It's a choice that's going to be good for you, good for those around you. It's the choice that's, right, not wrong. So for a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old, pretty simple. Well, it should be that way for all of us, right? So as I kept reflecting on kind of that topic of choose and choice that was kind of consuming my brain space over the last 6 months or so, I put pen to paper, and for me, I think they're writing. So I wrote our make green choices for myself and encouraged everybody, to kind of join me in choosing some of those or making those choices for yourself of what's going to be productive in your life this year, whether that's on a personal level or whether that's your Parkside athletics.
So how do you think that you'll make it stick in people's minds here, outside of it being green like Parkside?
Well, the way we make everything stick, a hashtag, right?
A hashtag.
No, I think, simplifying things is really good for me. It's not true for everybody. Some people can read a 200, 300-page book every week about leadership or, self-development. That's not me. I don't have the time. I'm not smart enough to consume all that information. So it's really the simple things that have been really important in my life. And John Gordon does something called One Word, where each year you pick one word to think about. And I've done that for the last few years. Last year it was forward. This year it's choose. So things like that, I make it my email password. There's a little bit more to it. You guys can't talk me, but so I think things like that for me is how I make it stick. Every time I log into my computer, I have to write the word or that phrase that I'm trying to focus on for that year. So that's something I think I encourage other people to do as well. But, we'll talk about it through hashtags and, it's not a directive. It's not a command that I am asking everybody on our staff or all of our student athletes to come up with their own top 10 of green choices. But if it can be helpful, then I hope some people may do it. And for me, I think it'll be helpful. There's certain green choices in there that I just think that will stick in my mind if we're going through adversity, if we're going through a bad day. Well, choose resiliency. Choose to focus on solutions, not problems. And they're very simple, not nothing rocket science comes out of my brain. But some of those really simple things that I think as we're going through certain things here, or I'm going through certain things in life that can just pop into your head, and just a reminder. I think those reminders you can give yourself can be the most valuable things we can offer in our lives.
Well, there you have it. Focus on the simplicity. Make green choices, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Andrew Gavin, and everyone be sure to follow the Rangers on social media to stay up to date with everything that's to come. We're very excited for everything that's to come this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace.